Chapter 2, Dullsville. The official welcome sign to my town should read, "Welcome to Dullsville. Bigger than a cave, but small enough to feel claustrophobic. A population of 8,000 lookalikes. A weather forecast that's perfectly miserable all year round. Sunny, fenced-in cookie-cutter houses, and sprawling farmland. That's Dullsville." The A10 freight train that runs through town separates the wrong side of the tracks from the right side. The cornfields from the golf course, and the tractors from the golf carts. I think the town has it backwards. How can land that grows corn and wheat be worth less than land filled with sand traps? The 100-year-old courthouse sits on the town square. I haven't gotten into enough trouble to be dragged there yet. Boutiques, a travel agent, a computer store, a florist, and a second-run movie theater all sit happily around the square. I wish our house could lie in the railroad tracks on wheels and carry us out of town, but we're on the right side near the country club. Dullsville. The only exciting place is an abandoned mansion an exiled baroness built on top of Benson Hill, where she died in isolation. I have only one friend in Dullsville, a farm girl, Becky Miller, who is more unpopular than I am. I was in 3rd grade when I officially met her. Sitting on the school steps, waiting for my mom to pick me up, late as usual, now that she was trying to be a corporate Kathy, I noticed an impish girl cowering at the bottom of the steps, crying like a baby. She didn't have any friends, since she was shy and lived on the east side of the tracks. She was one of my few farm girls in our school and sat 2 rows behind me in class. "What's wrong?" I asked, feeling sorry for her. "My mom forgot me," she hollered, her hands covering in her pathetic face. "No, she didn't," I consoled. "She's never late," she cried. "Maybe she's stuck in traffic." "You think so?" "Sure. Or maybe she got a call from one of those nosy salespeople that always ask, 'Is your mother home?'" "Really?" "Happens all the time, and maybe she had to stop for a snack and there was a long line at the 7-Eleven. You think so?" "Would she do that?" "Why not? You have to eat, don't you? So never fear, she'll be here." And sure enough, a blue pickup drove up with one apologetic mother and a friendly, fluffy sheepdog. "My mom says you can come over on Saturday if it's okay with your parents," Becky said, running back to me. No one had ever invited me to their house before, and I wasn't shy like Becky, but I was just as unpopular, and I was always late for school because I overslept. I wore sunglasses in class, and I had opinions, atypical in Dullsville. Becky had a backyard as big as Transylvania, a great place to hide and play monsters and eat all the fresh apples a growling 3rd-grade stomach could hold. I was the only kid in our class who didn't beat her up, exclude her, or call her names, and I even kicked anyone who tried. She was my 3rd-dimensional shadow, and I was her best friend and her bodyguard, and still am. When I wasn't playing with Becky, I spent my time applying black lipstick and nail polish, scuffing my already worn combat boots, and burying my head behind Anne Rice novels. I was 11 when all our family went out to New Orleans for vacation. My mom and dad wanted to play blackjack on the Flamingo Riverboat Casino. Nerdboyd wanted to go to the aquarium, but I knew where I was going. I wanted to visit the house of Anne Rice's birth, the historical home she had restored, and the mansion she now called home. I stood mesmerized outside its iron gates, a Gothic mega mansion. My mom, my uninvited chaperone, by my side. I could sense ravens flying overhead, and even though there probably weren't any, it was a shame I hadn't come at night. It would have been that much more beautiful. Several girls who looked just like me stood across the street taking pictures. I wanted to rush over and say, Be my friends! We can tour the cemeteries together. It was the first time in my life I felt like I belonged. I was in a city where they stack coffins on top of one another so you can see them instead of burying them deep within the earth. There were college guys with two-tone spiky blonde hair. Funky people were everywhere except on Bourbon Street, where the tourists looked like they'd flown in from Dullsville. Suddenly, a limousine pulled around the corner. The blackest limo I had ever seen. The driver, complete with black chauffeur's hat, opened the door and she stepped out. I freaked and watched motionless, like time was standing still. Right before my eyes, my idol of all living idols, Anne Rice. She glowed like a movie star, a gothic angel, a heavenly creature. Her long black hair flowed over her shoulders and glistened. She wore a golden headband, a long flowy silky skirt, and fabulous vampirish dark cloak. I was speechless. I thought I might go into shock. Fortunately, my mom is never speechless. Could my daughter please have your autograph? Sure, the Queen of Nocturnal Adventure sweetly replied. I walked toward her as if my marshmallow legs would melt under the sun at any moment. After she signed the yellow post-it note my mom found in her purse, the gothic starlet and I were standing beside each other, smiling, her arm around my waist. Anne Rice had agreed to take a picture with me. I had never smiled like that in my life. She smiled a million times before. A moment she'll never remember, and a moment I will never forget. Why didn't I tell her I loved her books? Why didn't I tell her how much she meant to me? That I thought she had a handle on things like no one else did? I screamed with excitement for the rest of the day, reenacting the scene over and over for my dad and Nerd Boy at our antique-filled pastel pink bed and breakfast. It was our first day in New Orleans, and I was ready to go home. Who cared about the stupid aquarium, the French Quarter, blues bands, and Mardi Gras beads when I'd just seen the vampire angel? I waited all day to get the film developed, only to find that the picture of me and Anne Rice didn't come out. Sullen, I retreated back to my hotel with my mother. Despite the fact she and I had appeared in photographs separately, could it be possible that the combination of two vampire lovers couldn't be captured on film? Or, rather, it was just a reminder that she was a brilliant best-selling writer and I was a screamy, dreamy child going through a dark phase. Or maybe it was that my mom was a lousy photographer.